turmeric elk fried rice. I told you guys I'd be coming with the recipe, so here we are. This is packed with vegetables and protein, and it's super delicious. So for this recipe, we're gonna need a green onion, you're gonna need a white onion, some garlic. Make sure this is all fresh, by the way. A medium to small size red pepper. This one's kind of big. Some broccoli, which is optional, of course. And I'm using elk meat. Now you could use any kind of meat you want, ground beef, ground pork, or none if you're vegan, but it won't taste the same. Now the seasonings we're going to use in this is some fried rice seasoning for the MSG, some sesame oil, some turmeric powder, thyme dried, rosemary dry, also Celtic sea salt, some freshly ground black pepper, avocado oil, of course, to cook it with, and I'm using whole grains brown rice. I love the way it tastes. You could use any type of rice you want, white, black, who knows. Now I cook my rice in a pot. I don't use a rice cooker. Put a little bit of olive oil, mix it up, let it do its thing. As soon as it comes to a boil, put the lid on top and set that timer. That should be done. So let's get into the real prep now. We got to get the garlic out. We want 6 cloves of this. I know you're thinking that's a lot of garlic, but trust me, it's delicious. So we crack, smash it down, get all those husks off there. Use fresh garlic all the time. Use fresh ingredients. It makes a difference in your food, in the taste and the quality and the way you feel. Don't use that store-bought stuff that's been sitting in your fridge for 6 months. Go buy you some garlic. It's cheap as hell. Cut it fine as possible, as fine as the cheap stuff. You want that same consistency. You see it right there. Put that in your bowl. You should have, hopefully you have a whole bunch of bowls you could use, to be honest, because you're going to need them for this recipe. That's what it should look like right there. Then we get to our onion. So we're gonna cut a little bit less than half of it, and we're gonna finely cut this onion very fine as possible. We want this to go with the garlic, and you're gonna cook this at first, and it's just, they're gonna melt together and make almost like a paste, if you will. Not really, but you'll see soon. So we're gonna cut this real fine. I don't know if this is the best way to cut an onion. Listen, I'm not a chef. I just put things together. I learn off YouTube. I'm sure there's a better way to cut onions. You could tell me in the comment section, but this is what I did. Gave it a nice little fine chop, then put that in our next bowl. With the garlic, I should add, I don't know if this is the way you should cook it, but I just love how they all go together. Put that aside. That's there ready to go. The rest of the onion, we're gonna chop not finely, a little bit more bigger pieces. We're gonna cook this with the meat. So I kind of like some bigger pieces to cook with the meat. You may get a little piece of onion in a bite, but it'll be so well seasoned and just the flavor will be there. So it's not like just biting a raw onion. Don't get it twisted. We will roughly cut this one up, a rough chop, I guess that's what it's called. Again, I'm sure there's a better way to cut an onion, but hey, this is what I do and it works. Sorry for the camera shake there, by the way. That's what that onion looks like right there. Now we're gonna get to our pepper. I just like to cut it on the outside so I don't have to, oops, watch it slip. So I don't have to worry about, trimming out that inside stuff, which I don't know what the beef is with the inside stuff, why people are so against it, but I don't know. I'll Google it one day and let you guys know on a live stream or something. So we're gonna cut this pepper up into fine pieces, fine chop it. You want this to kind of melt into the recipe. I try to get it not super duper fine, but I don't really want to be biting into pieces of pepper personally, but the flavor when it goes together, it's just a amazing sensation. So this is me cutting it up relatively fine, and that's going into the bowl next. That's what that should look like right there. Now we got the broccoli. So I like to cut all the stems out when I'm doing fried rice, because again, I don't want to bite into a chewy piece of stem when the top's cooked and the bottom is a little bit more raw. So I cut those stems off. I don't know, you can keep them for a soup or something, or just throw them out. Let's be real, who likes broccoli stems? I will say I didn't cut this broccoli quite fine enough. You want it to be small, bite-sized pieces. Some of these are just way too big and I was kind of just rushing through it. So my rice has 9 minutes and 50 seconds left. I got kind of bootleg here. I put this in a steaming tray and I just slapped that on top of my rice with the lid so the steaming rice cooked it while I'm chopping up my green onion here. Again, we want this to be a real fine chop. You don't want to take, because this is going on as a garnish. It's not going to be cooked at all. This goes as a garnish at the end. And you don't want to take a bite out of a huge green onion and get that sour. Like you see there's some big pieces there, so I cut them up and made sure, you don't want to get that bite. It's just not convenient in any way. That's what that should look like. So the rice is done cooking now. We mix that up. I know some people wonder why you don't put butter, but I put butter at the end of the rice when it's done cooking. The texture's already there, and then we just get that buttery flavor to kind of soak into the rice for a bit. It looks good. We're gonna set that to the side now and get the cooking on the other stuff. So here's our pan. I don't know what kind of pan it is, kind of stone pan. 2 tablespoons of avocado oil goes into the pan. It should be a little bit hotter. You should kind of see it, you know, having some activity, some ripples, but it's all good because we're doing the first stage, which is a slow cook anyways. So now once that's heated up, we're going to get our onion garlic mixture, put that in there. Make sure you get all of it in there. Don't let any go to waste. You see me scraping it all out, every last bit. Now we're gonna get a little pinch of the Celtic salt, get that going in there. It's supposed to be really healthy. I like the flavor of this salt, if that makes any sense, but whatever. Little pinch in there. Nothing else for now except the turmeric. We put a handsome amount of turmeric because it's almost like you're cooking the turmeric. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of cooking seasonings to get out a different flavor out of them, so that's what I'm kind of going for here. Mix this up, get it all incorporated, and we're going for a slow cook here. You see the heat is kind of high. I'm gonna drop it down soon, but we like to just keep it slow, and you're gonna cook this for, see, there you go, drop the heat, told you. And we're going to cook this for about 5 minutes. So really just keep it mixing. You don't want to get that garlic burnt. You want everything to slowly cook, the onions to get translucent, the garlic flavors to release, and all fuse with that turmeric in the oil, and also season the pan with this flavoring. If you cook this for someone at this point, they're going to already be going crazy when they smell this right now. Just to let you know, if you have a lady over or cooking for your wife or your girlfriend or your friends, their mouths will be watering at this point. And make sure you get all those little bits off the spoon too. You see that right there? That's the good part right there. So at this point now, I've been cooking it for about 5 minutes. It's finished, a little browned, all cooked and soft and ready to go. We're gonna take that, scrape it out, and put it in another bowl now. This is about different stages with this cooking. It's not an all-in-one type dish. It's definitely different stages, as you'll see. So we have our pan now with that delicious flavor on there. We're gonna get 2 more tablespoons of avocado oil in there, and now get that all around, everything incorporated, and then we're gonna get our more finely chopped, or should I say less finely chopped onions, and our red peppers in there. And we're gonna get this chefing, and at this point I'm gonna jack the heat back up because we're kind of going for like quick fry, stir fry, I guess you could say. So yeah, I'm gonna turn the heat up right soon, but first we're gonna add some more salt. Get this vegetable melody seasoned with some salt and some freshly cracked black pepper. Don't have pre-cracked, of course. Keep everything fresh. Like, come on, guys. Let's be grown-ups here, all right? Now we're gonna mix this up on a little bit of a higher heat. We're gonna get these sauteed just for about 1 to 2 minutes, not very long. You don't want to overcook this to the point where it just kind of turns into a paste. You want to have those little bites in there when you actually have the finished product. So we're gonna definitely cook this for, I'd say, probably 2 to 3 minutes before we add the meat into it. Now after 2 to 3 minutes, what I like to do is I make a little section in the center where I'm going to be placing my meat, which is right there. Elk meat, it's absolutely delicious if you've never tried it. Slap that down there, turn the heat up, there we go, because we don't want to slow cook meat, you know, unless you're making like a stew or something. Oh yeah, frozen corn is optional, I forgot to mention that. I like it in there, it adds a little sweetness. And back to the meat. So we flatten the meat out. If you know about cooking meat, you don't want to be mixing and meddling around with it too much. You want to just sit it there, let that crisp and that browning go on one side before you flip it over. So we flatten that out, help it get some surface area. We go with a generous amount of salt. Please guys, don't be scared of salt. Like, we need salt. And if you're exercising, you definitely need salt. So handsome amount of salt, handsome amount of freshly cracked black pepper. That's a hard one to say. You don't even know how many takes it took me to do this voiceover right here. But anyways, the freshly cracked black pepper, a handsome amount. As you can see, it's the flavor needs to be there. Now we got our dried rosemary. We're gonna break that up because again, you don't want to take a big bite off a stem of rosemary. So we're gonna break that up pretty finely, sprinkle that on the top, and we're gonna just do the same thing with the thyme. We're gonna break that up nice and fine, sprinkle that on top. I know this seems like a weird seasoning comparison. I actually ended up putting more rosemary, if you see there, but it just goes perfectly. For meat, rosemary, and thyme with the elk, I don't know, it's magical. So we're gonna break this up a little bit now, flip it over, and you'll see we got a nice, beautiful browning going on one side. Look at that. That's what you want with any meat, by the way. Steak, whatever you're doing, don't be flipping it every 5 seconds, you know, let it just sit and do its own thing. So we do that, we pull the vegetables off the side now, get it on top, let those flavors start to just, you know, become one with another, dance, if you will. More salt, more black pepper on the other side of the meat. You don't want to have it unseasoned meat. Optional here is cayenne pepper. I love the heat, so as you see right here, I put a relatively handsome amount of cayenne. I like my heat. Optional too, you could put in hot sauce at this point if you want. Then we go in with the frozen corn. That's about, I'd say, a cup or so, maybe a little bit more than that. You want to make sure you get that in now and don't add it at the end where it doesn't fully thaw or something like that. So at this point now, we have all our ingredients together for the meat portion of this meal. We're going to start chopping it up, because also you don't want to have a huge bite of the ground elk. You want to just kind of break it up to the point where it just all goes together. So with every bite of the fried rice, you have all types of different flavors going on. At this point, I'm just sitting it here and just letting it do its own thing, letting it cook. I'm not constantly stirring it. Just let it, set it and forget it, as the commercial goes. So you're gonna cook this essentially until there's no more pinkness. So you wanna keep busting the pieces down, and if you see pink, it's obviously not done, but once it's done, now you see you could get fancy with it and drop some corn and onions on the stove and make a hot mess and almost burn the kitchen down potentially. And we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it chefing up here, let this cook, and the flavors all just go together slowly but surely. There's the broccoli that we steamed over the rice. We're gonna toss that in now. That's the final addition. And this is what I said, how the pieces were too big. So this is me kind of failing to try and break the pieces, but it just wasn't happening, because I like my broccoli a little undercooked. You know, you want that crunch. You don't want soggy broccoli. I don't know, I don't. So as I successfully attempted to break those down into smaller pieces, which didn't work, we're just cooking everything. At this point, everything is pretty much done. You know, the steam's coming out. You can see there's no more pinkness in any meat. Everything's incorporated, so we're at a good place with it right now. I can almost smell this while I'm making it, to be honest. Then we want to take that and put it in some type of container, a plastic or a metal container. We just want to separate that and set it to the side for a second. It's already cooked. It's already ready to go. Just let it sit, let the juices go around. We have some leftover remnants of flavor here. We're going to leave that in, and then we're going to add our rice back, which has been sitting for the time we've been cooking this, and any moisture has been absorbed. As you can see, it's nice and dry. You know, some people like to sit the rice overnight or whatever, but brown rice is a little bit more firm, so you can get away with this. The end result isn't soggy. If you use white rice, it might be soggy. Now we're gonna get our garlic and our onion mixture with the turmeric and put that back in there. This is still on relatively high heat. Hit it with a little bit more turmeric, you know, for a little coloring. You won't taste the turmeric, by the way. It just blends in with all the other flavors. We're gonna go with our fried rice seasoning, which is basically just MSG, which, you know, you need the MSG for fried rice. Let's be real here. Let's not beat around the bush, shall we? And then we're gonna go with the sesame oil, a good amount. I would say probably about 2 tablespoons. And we wanna mix this up quick. This is gonna happen very quick. The heat's on high. You just wanna fry up the rice quick. You don't wanna burn it. You don't wanna have chewy, hard bits of rice that are overcooked. So we're really just incorporating this, give it a nice mix. Let all the turmeric and the sesame oil all just get to every portion of the rice. Every single grain of rice should have it on it. Then we go back in with the meat. There we go. This is gonna happen quick. As you see, there's some flavoring left in this pot. You wanna keep that because we're going back in there after. And we're just gonna mix everything together. At this point, look at the colors. Look how beautiful it looks. The reds, the greens, the yellows, the browns. Now we don't wanna cook this for too long at all. You'll hear the rice like starting to crackle. It'll be sticking to the pan a little bit. So really just mix it up, get everything incorporated, heating up for the final cook, the final dance. The food is doing the final dance, the ingredients. And we're gonna shake that up and put that back into our pot there. Now, I had a shot of me plating it. I don't know what happened to the shot. You gotta let go and let God sometimes, but essentially I just took this out, I put a little bit onto a plate, I took that green onion that I had cut up for the garnish, sprinkled it on top just to add that crisp flavor to it, and a little bit of black pepper, cracked a little touch on there, and that's really it, guys. The dish is done. This is like 3 servings, and this is me eating it, so you know I'm not faking the funk. It is absolutely delicious. I promise you guys that, laced with flavor. I hope you guys like this one.